Welcome into Crown Corner on location in Greenville, South Carolina, your home for Charlotte FC every week on WFNZ's social channels. Palaszczuk, Jessica Charman here with you. It's a little different doing this side by side.
I was gonna say I feel so weird being within like pushing distance from you. When you're getting on my nerves, I can give you a shove off the screen.
Well, we are so happy to be here with you. We are at Legacy Early College Triumph Stadium as Charlotte FC gets ready for U.S. Open Cup play against the Greenville Triumph. One thing that we can definitely say is that we were left in with a very incredible welcome from the folks here in Greenville. So we want to make sure that we give our folks here with the Greenville Triumph the very best thank you when it comes to not only their hospitality, but the way that they've at least been towards us. We see right now, we have a very great view of the pitch. The only reason that we are not looking at the pitch right now is that you wouldn't be able to see us because the sunlight was burning down. It would silhouette the two of us. So we at least have an opportunity to at least show you what's going on the pitch by looking at it. We see a bunch of players right now on the pitch trying to test out the turf field in front of us. Anton walks. I see Adam Armour, and I see a real team, I feel like, Jess, that's motivated to play here for the first time in the U.S. Open Cup.
Yeah, well, I think it's an amazing opportunity for a lot of players. We've talked on multiple occasions about how Open Cup just gives the coaching staff an opportunity to look at other players that maybe aren't getting MLS starts. It's an opportunity for players to prove themselves. And Cup soccer is just a different kettle of fish. When I was a player, I loved the opportunity to play in cup competitions because it's a bit of a break from the league. And it allows you to have 2 games in a week, which, you know, if you're a soccer player, you live for match days. So it's very exciting to get that opportunity midweek as well.
And I think it also gives them an opportunity to possibly get the road monkey off their back just because of the fact that we have had a couple of road contests and not necessarily the best start. I'm wondering if what they'll go through today with a hostile environment should be good grooming for what might happen in Saturday in Colorado.
Look, you mentioned a hostile environment, but at the same time, on our way in on the little shuttle bus, we saw plenty of Charlotte FC fans. I think it's going to be a 50-50 split. I know that a lot of people are watching at home, obviously on ESPN+, but there's a lot of people that have made the short drive down, and that's going to be helpful for the players because a lot of the time we talk about one of the struggles on the road in MLS is it can be difficult to have that home environment. Today, I think Charlotte FC are going to get behind their players, and they're excited for their first viewing of the Open Cup.
We encourage you to tweet at us. We encourage you to Facebook comment at us. We'll share your comments here with you, and we'll answer any of your questions you might have from Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And we'll have an opportunity to answer those throughout our about 35 minutes here with you as we get you ready for a 7 o'clock kickoff. No radio tonight because of the rights deal with the U.S. Open Cup, solely on ESPN Plus, as Jessica mentioned, and there will be no regional blackouts. So if you are in Charlotte or in anywhere basically that is a Charlotte FC haven, you have the opportunity to watch tonight. A little bit on what happened last Saturday in New England, a 2-1 defeat at the hands of the New England Revolution. It was something where I feel like it came down to the concentration early. We've seen this team have some great starts. We've had this team also concede early, and it's really affected the match.
Honestly, Will, it's been a tale of 2 stories when you think about the games that we've played. We've either got off to a fantastic start or we've got off to a really disappointing start. We've never really had the middle ground of just coming out and doing okay. It's so important those first 15 minutes, particularly on the road, as we've mentioned time and time again, because it sets the whole environment for the rest of the match. It's very important to try and keep things close to frustrate the opposition. Multiple away matches, what we've done is allow the home crowd an opportunity to get behind their players with early goals conceded. And we keep creating this mountain for us to climb that when you get yourself in a 1-0 deficit, when you concede a second goal, it becomes very difficult because even if you get that one goal at the end like we did, you've still got to dig even deeper to find another goal. But the Titi Ortiz goal, obviously a highlight for us, right, Will?
Absolutely. We love to see him kind of get back off the schneid. It was very interesting to also see the way that he and the rest of the team kind of reacted toward it. And I do feel like, I go back to that first game against DC United where he was snake bit by the offside call. And really ever since then, he's had a run of play that's been a bit uneven. And I do feel like a game and a performance and a goal like that can really spring forward him. And I do feel like he'll get some action tonight in the U.S. Open Cup. So this could be an opportunity to earn some time back in the lineup for him.
And I think we praise his mentality a lot when we have our conversations about this side, because it can be really difficult when you come into a side and you sign a contract. You're expecting to play. You're expecting to travel far from home and get a lot of time, a lot of performances. You're expected to really make an impact early on. For Titi Ortiz, it's been a really difficult start for his time stateside. You can go either way with that. You either kind of get yourself feeling sorry for yourself, you start to kind of put your head down and wonder, what do I have to do? Or you use that as a motivation to grind week in, week out. Miguel Angel Ramirez has been very high in his praise for Titi Ortiz and his work rate in training, and now it's paying off. And what does he want now after scoring that goal? He wants some minutes to continue to prove himself, to continue to find his flow. That's where Open Cup is hitting at the golden opportunity for a player like him.
And I'm glad that a sub was able to get the goal that at least gave Charlotte an opportunity to try and get back in the contest, just because of the fact that I feel like even though the first unit spent a lot of time on the pitch, I really feel like once those reserves started getting that time, that was when I really think the game really turned up in the direction of Charlotte, and they were a much better side with that infusion off the bench.
And that's what you want to use your substitutes, right? An effective substitute changes the match when they enter the pitch. And I think that's what happened in Saturday's game. They changed the speed. They changed the dynamic. They offered something different, which was difficult for the New England Revolution defense to do. And again, they're trying to prove themselves. I think what Charlotte FC has done very well is to create a friendly competition between the bench and its players. The players coming off the bench have a point to prove. They feel like they deserve more minutes. The likes of Jordi Reyna, who started early on in the season, is now on the bench since an injury, wants to come on and prove himself. Mackenzie Gaines, Adam Armour, they're all players that have had an impact in small parts this season. So when they step on the pitch, they're trying to make that long-lasting difference so that they can really get a claim to starting in future MLS matches.
And we mentioned the road that has been a struggle for Charlotte FC, still winless in games away from Bank of America Stadium. I've always said that when it comes to building a new club, especially one that's had, as much turnover as this one has, in fact, it's turnover from 0 to a full roster, it's something that is always kind of the last hurdle to get over when it comes to trying to get that road environment, create your own energy. What is the biggest hurdle to winning away from home?
I think it's all mentality. It's all about treating your away games like they're a home game. And that's really difficult to do because you're used to playing on your pitch. You're used to playing with your fans. Charlotte FC players are quote unquote spoiled by an incredible fan base. They're used to having this amazing group behind them cheering them on, but you have to have a different mentality on the road. You have to forget all of that. When you step on the pitch, you can't treat it in any different way to an away game, a home game. They have to be the same. And I think that's where they've just got to switch on and concentrate in those first few minutes like they would do at home.
So the Charlotte FC situation now shifts to Greenville, South Carolina, where we are at Triumph Stadium at Legacy Early College for the U.S. Open Cup. A little background on this, if you're not necessarily familiar. This basically is a formation kind of like the Football Association Cup, which is one of the oldest competitions of football in the entire world. In the entire world. And so this is the United States equivalent of that. It's actually the third oldest trophy that's competed for in the entire world when it comes to soccer, and definitely the oldest in America, but it runs separate to the MLS regular season. It involves the 107 professional clubs throughout the American soccer situation, not just the MLS, but USL Championship, USL League One, and even some lower divisions in the under 23s. So this is an opportunity for a lot of these lower division clubs to see an MLS club for the first time. Today is actually the first time that Greenville Triumph, and I believe it's 3 or 4 seasons of play, have ever seen an MLS side in their own stadium or ever played against one from this side. So you'll know that they want to be the giant killer today, Jess. And for Charlotte, this is one where I feel like the MLS pride is on the line.
Absolutely. Well, it's one of those where it's a must-win game for Charlotte FC. We've seen a lot of upsets happen in the last couple of nights of action, and that's what happens when you don't treat it seriously. Charlotte FC cannot overlook Greenville Triumph because they're coming into this one. It's their big day out, like you say. Well, they want to prove themselves in front of their fans. There's obviously the Carolina rivalry. There's some Greenville fans who probably feel some sort of way against Charlotte FC, and they're going to want to show that this is a team that can compete. Also, you've got to remember, a lot of these players out there are young professionals that are looking to prove themselves. What a fantastic opportunity to prove themselves. They're not an ESPN Plus game in in front of an MLS side. These are the kind of matches that, should you have a fantastic performance, you can better your career. So it's definitely a side that we don't want to overlook. We can't get so caught up looking ahead to our next MLS match on the road on Saturday that we forget that we still have 90 minutes to play. And of course, we must mention, with it being cup action, 90 minutes, and if it's drawn after that, extra time, and potentially Charlotte FC's first penalty shootout in history as well.
Yeah, Union Omaha actually got a victory on the road at Chicago Fire at Soldier Field, and that was something that took place in penalties. So at least gives you an opportunity to see these guys in a different environment. Miguel Angel Ramirez spoke to the media on Monday and had this to say about playing in the squad's first U.S. Open Cup.
I mean, knowing that we have just 2 days to prepare, I mean, the scouting department, the analysis department was working on them already last week and trying to prepare, to provide all the information needed to prepare the game. But always the cup is, I mean, everywhere, all around the world is a fun competition.
We apologize for the young lady who's testing the anthem right in front of us. We are nowhere close to the contest. We're not trying to not deify the anthem that's going on behind us. But the fact of the matter is, it is something that I feel like, as somebody who has gone through this at Independiente del Valle, he has a particular reverence for that. They won the Copa Sudamericana in South America when he was there in Ecuador, and it's something where he knows how to motivate his squad in order to make himself be available to them and figure out how you not only compartmentalize this type of competition.
He knows about the magic of the cup. There's just a different sensation as a player playing in a cup competition. It's a shorter lived thing. It's more attainable because you just have to motivate yourself 90 minutes here and then another 90 minutes in a couple of weeks' time. And it's a great respite. If you're struggling in the league, it's a great opportunity to really show yourself. Both these sides have had fairly difficult starts to their league play. Obviously, Greenville in USL League One right now, sitting one off the bottom of the table. So this is a fantastic opportunity now for them to motivate their fans at home in a fantastic match against an MLS side.
Yeah, 6 wins is all you need, at least from where Charlotte's considered, because a win today gets you into the round of 32, which would basically involve the rest of the MLS sides joining the final 8 that aren't playing, at least of the American domestic sides that are involved in this competition. And then after that, it gets another random draw, and then it comes into a bracket, and they'll be very wondrous about whether or not they can get themselves into a side where they might see some more MLS teams, some more lower division sides. Could be possible rematch with Atlanta if they advance. There's a lot to possibly be on the line when it comes to that. It also means some very interesting incentives, including $300,000 cash, and something Miguel Angel Ramirez says could be a very big bolster to what this group could possibly be in, an automatic berth in the CONCACAF Champions League that he detailed in his Monday comments.
For us, it's a great opportunity to keep getting experience, learnings, minutes together. So, of course, if the clubs, I mean, the MLS clubs give the importance, and when you get an important reward for the club, I'm not talking only financially, also to qualify for a CONCACAF championship. So it's important for the club to play this competition and to try your best to win it.
And I love this attitude from Miguel Angel Ramirez, right? Because for those of us that haven't necessarily followed this competition, it's not always one that clubs take seriously. A lot of the times they may rotate their squads. Their focus is solely on MLS. It's pretty clear from his comments that Miguel Angel Ramirez believes Open Cup deserves just as much respect. And it's a fantastic opportunity to progress into a future cup competition, like he mentioned, in CONCACAF. And who doesn't want to travel to Mexico and all across, the Americas for some soccer.
Are you saying me personally, or are you saying
we might have to talk to FNZ about some road trips. That's all I'm saying.
I know that there have been a couple of times where teams have gone to Estadio Azteca or things of that nature. So we're very much looking forward to seeing whether or not Charlotte FC can play for that here next year if they are able to hoist the trophy that is the U.S. Open Cup. You did mention the fact, though, that there is a possibility of some squad rotation. This team does have a game on Saturday to think about at Elevation against Colorado. They are coming off of a match on Saturday where their starters play heavy minutes. who are you looking forward to seeing on the pitch among those who we might see getting their first starts of the season or an odd
Come
start?
on, Will. How well do you know me?
I have an idea what you're going to say.
Look,
I'm trying to tee it up for you. I'm trying to tee it up for you because I know exactly who you probably want to see, and it's somebody who played his college ball literally a half hour down the road at Clemson University.
Okay, you passed the test. Yes, very excited to potentially see a start from George Marks in goal. Christian Kalina has been spectacular during his start with Charlotte FC, but you always want your goalkeepers to be fresh. Open Cup's an excellent opportunity to rotate your goalkeepers, to give them minutes, because we don't want to see the likes of Zach Steffen errors happening for those that watch that watch the other league.
I was about to say, why? Why are you going to bring up Zach Steffen? Is this the first instance of your U.S. versus England trash talk? Is it happening now for the first time from you?
I'm just saying that England.
I thought we had an armistice. I really did. I thought we had a ceasefire. But apparently we're not doing that now.
Wave it. I'm just saying Zach Steffen.
Just saying.
But in all seriousness, right, goalkeepers need minutes to stay fresh. They need competitive moments with a back line. So I think George Marks really deserves an opportunity. The last we saw him was in Charleston. It was a difficult time for him. He got his first minutes, the first goalkeeper to play, and it's a difficult system to be a part of. I want to see him perform now with so many weeks of practice under his belt. Andy Clay has been very well praised by Christian Kalina and George Marks as a fantastic goalkeeper coach. Excited to see that progress, and also excited to see a potential different back four pairing. I know that there's a lot of squad depth in the defensive line.
There certainly is, and I do feel like, this could be an opportunity where we see a little bit more from Anton Walks. He has been in a very crowded situation at that center back position that's anchored by Guzman Carujo, Christian Fuchs, as well as Christian McCoon, who we're not sure whether or not we will see tonight because of the thigh injury. We at least did find out from Miguel on Monday that it was not as serious as he thought it could be. So we were wondering whether or not we might see McCoon a little bit, or we could see a full difference when it comes to the way they go about channeling their center backs. But if we see Anton Walks, we might be able to see Jan Zobaczynski as well, just because of the fact that I do feel like this is an opportunity to see whether or not those guys are very much being a part of that. And Zobaczynski was called out by name for Miguel Angel Ramirez in a couple of weeks ago's press conference before the contest, saying, hey, look, he was very much saying, hey, this is a guy who comes in, does his work every day, and doesn't say boo when it comes to the fact that he is not taking the field for any matches at all this season. So we could see him possibly in the mix. We could see, like we said.
What about another DP, Will?
Could be another DP possibly. Could be Camille Josviak, and that's something we will hear a little bit later on from Miguel Angel Ramirez. But I did like that at least he said it wasn't a fitness thing with Camille, that it was more about just trying to get himself into the game.
Yeah, definitely. I think that shows, obviously, we had concerns. He had that ankle injury coming out of Derby. He had mentioned in his own press conference that he was still having some swelling. As someone that's had an ankle injury in college, it's one of those injuries that, you have to wait a long time because it can always feel a little bit nitpicky. For them to come out and say it's not injury, it's not fitness, it's purely game model. And that's something Miguel Angel Ramirez has done a lot with a lot of his players, right? He protects them. He doesn't throw them in when they're not ready. Look at the likes of Jordi Alciba. He was a player that we maybe thought was going to start, but he didn't start early on. They waited until he was ready. I'm hoping that the way that Miguel Angel Ramirez is handling Camille Josviak is protecting him and making sure that he's ready when he comes onto the pitch.
And I also think, too, that one thing that we probably underrated from Miguel Angel Ramirez is his patience and his openness. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that we were afraid of early, that there might become a sense of factions between, the Miguel selected players and the guys who were selected before he got here. The fact that we've seen a lot of play and a lot of very market play from guys like Brandt Bronico, Christian Fuchs, and players of that ilk has really given Charlotte FC that roster balance that I don't think they got nearly enough credit for from the MLS pundits. But the fact of the matter is that Miguel notices who is playing well in form, and if he makes a mistake in a competition, he's very quick to change it, like he did against Atlanta and like he did a couple of weeks ago against Cincinnati.
And it goes both ways, right, Will? We've seen every single player that we've had the opportunity to talk to on this podcast. Every single one of them openly talks about how fantastic Miguel Angel Ramirez is to work with. He has an open door. He's an educator. He's always very honest. Those are traits that gain you player respect, no matter if you were picked by him or you were picked by other members of Charlotte FC. So he's earned that respect. The players want to play for their manager. And we see it all the time, right? Players that are motivated to play for their manager are always going to dig a little deeper.
There was also, as the Orange Goats brings up, the Danny Rios situation, brought in 24 hours after signing, threw him right in the fire. He's played in every game. And I don't think we talk about him nearly enough. I know we always mention the fact that he does the dirty work, but I noticed the concerted effort against Atlanta to really get him the ball and get him service. We saw a little bit of that as well against New England, and I do feel like the goal is coming for number 12.
Yeah, Danny Rios has been fantastic. I know Orange Goat is making a comment about the fact he was thrown in at the deep end, but potentially Miguel Angel Ramirez had watched more of his show tape. He felt like he fit in as a forward. We needed more forwards at the time.
Sure.
Right now, we're looking at Josviak and wondering where does he slot in, and that's why maybe you can be more patient with him because you're not as desperate to have an attacking prowess. Danny Rios was a must-have off of the bench because we didn't have any other forward options. He has been fantastic. He has put in a lot of work off the ball without praise. He's getting a couple of opportunities. You know, I picked on him a little bit last week. I think he should have finished the chance that he had, and who knows, maybe he comes on as a substitute in this one and gets a goal in Open Cup, but I don't see him starting just because of how much legwork and off-the-ball running he's put in during MLS action.
We are coming to you on location from Triumph Stadium in Greenville, getting you ready for the U.S. Open Cup pregame here in the upstate of South Carolina. Let's talk a little bit about this Greenville Triumph team. 0-1-1 in the young USL League One season. They did get their victory in round number 2 to advance to this stage of competition. Miguel Angel Ramirez asked about the squad. He says they bring a lot that you can like from an opposition side.
I mean, I really like the profile of the players that they have because you see aggressiveness, willingness. So yeah, I mean, with the information we got, we are preparing, expecting how they can do, how they can attack, how they can defend, and also knowing our strengths, which spaces we need to win and to progress. But yeah, I mean, I really like how they behave, how they try always to go forward, and they are super aggressive in this way.
And I love how he talks about the opposition and shows that respect. A lot of the time managers, when they're facing an underdog, maybe don't think about the opponent. They just think about themselves. Miguel shows a lot of respect for Greenville Triumph. They are a side that likes to attack. They like to go forward. That can cause gaps defensively that Charlotte FC will look to exploit, but only if we can defend soundly against their pressure. They have a lot of players that want to work hard. They also, as I mentioned earlier on in the show, have a lot of players that know that this is a bigger stage to perform on. There are more eyes on them than usual. They need to kind of use that pressure and that responsibility to be motivated into maybe getting their opportunity to play at a higher level.
I was asked by somebody in the Greenville media earlier this week, you know, will this be the kind of game that Charlotte cares about, or that Charlotte fans care about, or that Miguel Angel Ramirez cares about? I think 100% unequivocally yes, because they did do the advanced scout on them. There are a lot of teams that literally don't do the advanced scout on the USL League One side. They'll just say Pshaw, and they'll just try to, you know, treat it as an extra training session. I do not think that's how Miguel Angel Ramirez is making this happen.
I've had a lot of experience with USL Championship, with USL League One, with even League Two and the collegiate and the younger level. And I'll tell you something, there are a lot of diamonds in this league. There are a lot of players that maybe haven't been drafted from their collegiate times, or they haven't had the opportunity to make it into an MLS level, but there's a lot of players that deserve to be, and a lot of teams that are very well organized, that are very well supported. I expect a lot of Greenville Triumph fans out here today, and we would be fools not to respect them as an opponent. And anyone that thinks that Charlotte FC don't care about this one, number one, need to hear Miguel Angel Ramirez's press conference, but number two, they need to take a walk outside to where we went in, and so many fans, I think, have had early sick days off of work, or maybe taken a little bit of PTO because there is a huge crowd out there, and I'm very excited to have the opportunity to mingle with the crowd today.
The royal family, as newly named, very well represented here in that. And the Orange Goat says the fans definitely care. The buzz has been pretty loud. And I also think, too, there are a lot of people here in the upstate who have a little bit of a divided loyalty. There are people who have Greenville Triumph scarves that also have Charlotte FC scarves in their closet.
It's a bit like the Silverbacks with Atlanta United. A lot of the times there are those divides. There is a rivalry here as well, because there's a lot of Greenville Triumph fans that weren't very happy about Charlotte FC coming in and stealing some of the fan base. So it's going to be heated, and I've been listening to a couple of Greenville Triumph podcasts, as I do every week. I like to delve into opposition podcasts, and there are a couple of comments about putting in some hefty challenges on Charlotte FC players.
Well, that's the thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I do feel like there was a bit of a misnomer about our squad in the fact that they wouldn't be able to stand up to the physicality.
We nasty, Will.
We are actually the opposite. Talking to our friends in New England, talking to our friends in Atlanta who saw us for the second time and getting their impressions of what we at least bring to the table, they were very surprised at our ability to be physical in the middle, especially with guys like Brant Bronico, especially with Alan Franco, who we may or may not see tonight.
Though. We love the mean streak.
And I'm just saying, I love that that was something that people were wondering, how will they be able to make the physicality work? How will they make this happen?
But also,
do they know it's going to be physical? Guess what? We play physical!
This stems from the lack of understanding about players that don't have MLS experience won't be able to adjust to MLS.
Snobbish, a bit snobbish.
I'm not that person. Anybody that has watched...
you lie.
Anybody... I'm not a liar. I appreciate all... Says the girl that's commentating at all levels. We're going to fight here. Everybody, it's dangerous doing a Crown Corner in person. But in all seriousness, I think it just shows how these players have adjusted to the league, and it comes from a great manager who knew that talked about he needed players that were a little bit more chippy. He needed players that were going to be physical. They've worked on these things. These players have done a lot of weight room training, of adjusting in their physicality, and it shows every time they step on the pitch.
You mentioned Kamil Jozwiak earlier in the program. We were surprised he did not feature on last Saturday against the New England Revolution. When asked about whether or not he'd feature tonight, Miguel Angel Ramirez, sheepish but hopeful.
For me, it's important because I know him, but I know him from videos. It's not the same when you know a player with you every day. He didn't know me, and now with the days, with the message that I give, with the video session, with the meetings. So I mean, from now on, of course, he will get minutes in every game, hopefully.
The mysterious words of Miguel Angel Ramirez. Likes to keep his cards close to his chest at times. Would that be fair to say?
Very true to say. I like that we keep trying to play this guessing game on where he's going to fit in. The last thing I want to see happen is continuity forsaken just to insert a player in there. But to not utilize him in the best fashion, I'm wondering what the right wing looks like if they try to go back to a winger scenario. And I also wonder just how service looks like for Karol Swiderski if he is left up there by himself once again. Maybe he could play the second striker and be in that Rios spot.
The good thing we know is that Miguel Angel Ramirez views formation is very abstract. So he's going to be okay with experimenting with this. He's also empowering his players to be comfortable in many positions and many formations. So if he needs to switch something, if it's not working, he can do it at the flick of a finger. So I'm excited to see as well, Will, but I think the most important thing is setting him up to succeed. The most important thing to do when you get new players is you don't throw them in there to fail. You want to set them up to succeed so that they can build confidence, because confidence as a player is the most important skill that you can have. You have to believe in yourself and feel you're set up to succeed.
Are you saying formation's a whole mood?
Formation doesn't even exist, does it? My job is a lie. My whole job of telling you what formation is a lie, everybody.
I'll say this. You mentioned the fluidity of it. There have been a couple of times where late in contests, he's just basically throwing every forward out there and just say, hey, go get a goal.
And it shows how comfortable his players are in adjusting.
Exactly.
It shows the communication between the back line. They're comfortable with playing as three centre backs, playing as a back four, a back five. And that's a testament, again, to how they utilize practice effectively.
You mentioned the fact that there were a couple of these contests that involved not just the second division side, but also the third division sides that were what we call cup sets in the U.S. Open Cup echelon. How confident are you that at least the standard of the side that Charlotte FC will bring to the table will show out in the end of 90 minutes when it comes against Greenville Triumph.
I think as long as this side puts their mind to everything, then they can succeed. But again, mentality is key. With this crowd that's coming in, you're going to see a lot of green coming in behind us. There's a lot of fans that are here for the home side. Again, it's that on-the-road mentality. If you don't come out preparing for this one accurately, if you don't come out to this match and take it seriously, respect the opponent, then they can come back and haunt you. I think it's very important that Charlotte FC avoids being the side that gets a cup set against them.
Now, I'm not asking you for a score prediction because I think that's unfair to do. But I do feel like, as we get people from behind us getting a reaction in as they've just opened up the gates here behind us here at Greenville Triumph's Legacy Early College Stadium, I feel like a good showing tonight, how much of that can actually buoy forward into Colorado, where we know they are going to have to travel early to acclimate to the altitude there in Commerce City, Colorado. How much can this game affect what we might see on Saturday?
Well, we talk about momentum all the time, Will. It's absolutely vital. If you can get the win today, if you can have a fantastic performance, it sets you up very well and good to step back onto the pitch on Saturday. Because of the quick turnaround, because it's a game in one time and then another game immediately afterwards, it's very important that you get that result so you can have the momentum, so you can feel good coming into it. And most importantly, for those players that are getting minutes that haven't maybe had many minutes this season, it's going to give them that feel good in game action.
And I do think, too, that it's good to at least get another opportunity to play midweek, because competition is what fuels things. And I do feel like one of the things that we've seen in training, whether it's from Cristobal, their physio staff head, or from Miguel Angel Ramirez in the way that he organizes training, is that they are very variable in the way that they organize. No one training session is like another. And I'm not trying to turn this into what amounts as a training session, but I think it's better than a training session because it allows for those guys who are preparing for a squad they might not play against to have that opportunity to exercise their muscle, exercise their mettle.
And I can tell you as a player, it's so important. Nothing emulates real match action. You can do practice, you can do 11 on 11s in practice, but there's not the same level of physicality because you don't want to injure your teammates. There's not the same level of competitiveness because at the end of the day, it's still a practice. You know each other, so you don't have that level of unpredictability. There's nothing like stepping on the pitch for 90 minutes against somebody that you don't know, that's not your friend, that's not going to give you the ball instead of going for a 50-50 challenge. So very important to get those real match minutes under your belt.
And you mentioned also the fact that we're still not sure what the squad will look like in terms of how the starting 11 will look, but the ability to have a guy like a Karol Swiderski potentially coming off the bench, that's a real weapon in a game of this nature.
Definitely. Subs are so important. We already talked about the way that we've used subs effectively throughout it. And you've seen it in Open Cup games over the last day. Watching yesterday, the difference between a lot of MLS and the USL opponents, they could hang tight for 75, 80 minutes. But when the MLS were able to bring on players that were of DP caliber, of international players, it just gives you that bite at the end of the match. But Miguel Angel Ramirez will hope he doesn't have to do that.
True.
He will hope that his side that he puts out today are able to handle it and close down the shop before we've even got into the second half.
How do you win a game like this? Like it's very unique. It's very, I would say, from a degree of difficulty standpoint, I don't want to say it's harder than trying to win an MLS contest.
Though. At times it is.
But it feels like it could be.
As a player, anytime we played against the side we were expected to beat, it was more difficult because you're more, I don't want to say you play down to the level, but you get so focused on certain
It's hard
things.
not get complacent.
It's hard, exactly. And the minute that things don't go your way, if the momentum is in favor of the quote-unquote weaker team, you get frustrated in yourself. You start wondering, hey, is it not our night? And some of my hardest matches I ever played in were against sides that we were destined to beat, that it was a must that we beat them.
Yeah, Corbin asked whether or not we've seen a lineup yet. We have not. I do feel like from the standpoint that we're probably going to see somewhat of a similar formation. They're not going to try and, I think, alter their formation or their main form to try and make things happen. I don't want to say Miguel learned his lesson what happened in Philadelphia. I'd hate to at least degrade him in that fashion, but I do feel like he understands what the best form is for this squad. So I do feel like we will see a 4-4-2, just depending on which of those guys will play in. Though one of the things we did hear from him is that everyone's available. So it's not as if something is going to happen where they'll hold somebody out for fitness. He believes that anybody who they can dress tonight will give them some sort of action this evening.
But I do expect to see rotation. We've talked about that. This is the ideal opportunity to try out players that have impressed you in training without throwing them in the deep end in MLS. So expect to see some faces that you may not have seen very much in MLS action this season.
We're going to have some fun tonight here in Greenville, and hopefully we'll pick up an opportunity to get to the round of 32 in the U.S. Open Cup. Don't forget, Saturday night we are in action against the Colorado Rapids. We're back on the radio 9 o'clock for the start time there. Bring the coffee, and if you sneak a little whiskey into the coffee, we won't tell. We promise. We can't do that.
I thought you're giving me ideas.
No. We probably can't do that.
He's so worried.
We probably can't do that.
Probably.
But if you want to, we won't say a word.
You're probably watching at the pub anyway, so have a fantastic time watching at the pub. Stay up late, and we will try and keep it as entertaining as possible. Remember, turn the radio up, right?
8:30 is the pregame for that on not only WFNZ in Charlotte, but our great Charlotte Radio Network affiliates, including our friends here in Greenville, 104.9. We thank them as well for the hospitality. John Ellis and Richmond Weaver, those guys are real fun and great to us. And we're very happy to be here in the upstate, and hopefully we can leave Green Vegas with a victory here tonight. For Jessica Charman, I'm Will Palaszczuk. We'd like to also thank Kiara Jacobs, who, like a Carol Swiderski off the bench, stepped in for our friend.
Absolute super sub.
Stepped in for our friend Matt Hogan, who has a prior commitment tonight. Again, a little bit more unorthodox Crown Corner for you tonight. We're back next week at our new normally scheduled time, 6 p.m. Opportunity for you guys to interact with us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Watch tonight on ESPN Plus. That's the only way you can catch it. No blackouts at all. We'll talk to you on Saturday, and thank you for watching a special edition from Greenville.
It's really
as Jess gets hit by the gale. We're getting off just in time. Thank you so much for watching Crown Corner.